All right. I just told you guys I was going to be live for a little bit. All right. So we're tripping in space, you know what I mean? Like galaxy style stuff. But what I wanted to talk about right now is the Shopify experience. Specifically, using the Shopify experience to amplify your podcast and also tie that into your music, fashion, or other creative endeavors that you are already doing or that you would like to do. Okay, so that's what this live feed is going to be about. So if you have questions or comments, go ahead and comment below. I'll be answering your questions. I'm going to be live for about 15 minutes. All right. After the 15 minutes, then I'm going to go to my Zoom. That's where the actual free live webinar is going to be. Okay, so what I'm going to do with the Zoom is basically answer questions. So be live. I'll share some tips. And also for those that want to sign up for my yearly, quarterly, or even monthly masterclass, that'll be your opportunity to go ahead and register and sign up for it. Okay. So yeah, so I'm gonna wait a little bit while Instagram publishes and let you guys know that I'm live. So I'm gonna be sipping some coffee while I'm waiting. Hope you enjoy my galaxy trip, right? So we're all over the galaxy, deep in space. All right. So yeah, if y'all have any questions, just by all means, just hit me up with the questions, and I'll be answering those questions for you. So right now we're just chilling, waiting, um, be able to answer some of your questions. But the one area that I wanted to touch bases on is I think the last time went live and I kind of talked about podcasting and all that good stuff is the type of equipment that you need to podcast. Okay, you don't have to get an overly expensive equipment to get your podcast going. You can get an equipment that's reasonably priced. You need the mic, you need the filter, and to make sure your sound quality is good. Some people actually soundproof their podcasting studio or the little corner where they want to podcast. You can do that too. You obviously need to be able to connect to a mini mixer. There's some that you can get for less than $100, all right, to get you started. And then you're gonna need to be able to connect all that equipment to make it work for you. All right. So how do you connect it? That'll be another episode I'm gonna put out. As a matter of fact, I already have another episode that I already put out regarding the podcasting itself. Right. So after you have the equipment, well, don't forget the headphones too, right? After you have the equipment, the next thing you need to really pay attention to is the audio quality. And that's where the software comes into place, okay? If you want superb audio quality, then you have to have software that you could use to edit the audio after you do your actual recording. That's like the post-production kind of deal. That helps the sound quality of your podcast. Okay. So yeah, so we're talking. I already told you about equipment, talked about post-production, audio quality. The next thing I'm going to be talking about later, it's how to take what you've done with your audio quality and also integrate that to your blog. Just remember, my definition for podcast is what? It's an MP3 that's shareable as a blog. If you can understand that, then you will understand what a podcast is all about. One more thing I'll let you know. On some blogs, you can actually post WAV files. So even though I'm saying MP3, if you do your recording, most recordings are going to show up as WAV files. You can actually upload that WAV file on your blog and it would post to your podcast. Okay. So we've talked about equipment. We've talked about the audio piece, post-production. We've also talked about how you can then take that audio, sound quality, and then post it to your blog. What we're going to do now is talk about blogs, okay? All right, so most people already have access to WordPress or Google Blog or whatever blogging platform that you use, right? So after you record and save your audio file, what you want to do then is take that audio file and embed it, say, to an article that you've already posted on your blog. Okay. So if you don't already have a blog, but you have an idea for what your podcast is going to be about, it might be a good practice to go ahead and start a blog. And what I will recommend you do, instead of just starting a blog and blindly, is write down 10 topics that you want to talk about pertaining to the theme of your podcast, right? So those 10 topics are now going to be your episodes. And then what you want to do is blog about each episode. And once you start doing that, whatever you're talking about is what you're going to put for each blog post. And that's going to be your episode on your podcast, right? So we've talked about equipment, we've talked about audio production, we've talked about blogs. The next thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is actually the distribution of your podcast. Okay, how do you distribute that podcast? There are several places you could distribute your podcast. It's Stitcher, and then it's also Apple's podcast. But the one thing I like about podcasting is once you publish your podcast, there's a lot of podcast catchers, feed readers that are gonna actually start distributing your podcast for you. So, talking about feeds, the part that's complicated about podcasting is being able to turn that blog that I told you guys about into a feed. So what's a podcast? Podcast is an MP3 that's shareable as a blog. That's my description. What's your description of a podcast? What does it mean to you? Are you new to podcasting? Would you be interested in learning about how to podcast as an artist? I'm teaching an episodic podcast using my Podbump branded podcast for artists, producers, and fashion designers. In this series, you'll learn how to position for Black Friday sales, leverage Cyber Monday, tap into YouTube audiences, use hyper syndication to grow your audience, and there's more. Podcasting can be fun and exciting as a creator. So download the free ebook in the link on the description, and I'll see you in my podcast class. Masterclass this weekend. Just put in your information in the comments below, and I'll get you some information on how you could join my masterclass.